The improbable rescue of a young woman held captive by a serial killer led to closure in an unsolved quadruple homicide and the discovery of 3 bodies.
You almost ask yourself, did I just walk into a movie set in Hollywood? This is something that looked like it would straight come from a Hannibal Lecter movie.
Kayla Brown's nightmarish story started as a missing persons case. She and her boyfriend, Charlie David Carver, vanished in late August 2016. Their disappearances were immediately considered suspicious. Neither of them were answering calls or texts, and Kayla had left her dog unattended in her apartment without food or water.
Just trying to keep it together because I'm not going to get anywhere if I fall apart, so there's time for that later.
Investigators worked diligently for weeks, eventually tracing their cell phones to an area that led them to the property of Todd Kohlhepp. He was a locally known real estate agent, one whom Kayla had cleaned houses for a few times. During a sweep of the property, investigators came across a metal shipping container. They heard someone banging against it from within. After cutting it open, inside, they found Kayla Brown chained by the neck and ankles.
I've been in law enforcement for several years now, and I've never seen anything that would compare to anything like this.
Kayla had spent 2 months in captivity. Upon the discovery, Kohlhepp was immediately arrested.
We have Kayla. Excuse me? We have Kayla.
On her way to the hospital, Kayla recounted her ordeal to investigators. She and Charlie had been hired by Kohlhepp to clear brush on his property, she said. Kohlhepp, however, had other, more sinister intentions. He shot and killed Charlie and decided to keep Kayla captive.
For her to be able to have the strength to keep fighting because she knew we were going to find her.
Kayla told police that they would find more than one body buried on the property. Her tip prompted investigators to conduct a thorough, days-long search, complete with cadaver dogs and heavy machinery.
We're trying to make sure that we don't have a serial killer on our hands. This very possibly could be what we have.
While detectives scoured the 95-acre piece of land, Kohlhepp confessed to an unsolved quadruple homicide from 2003, where 4 people were shot at the Superbike Motorsports shop in South Carolina.
Scott Ponder was killed. Beverly Guy was killed. Mr. Brian Lucas was killed. And Chris Shuby Sherbert was killed. We signed 4 warrants on Todd Kellett today with a confession that he did this crime.
He knows evidence that nobody else would know except the murderer in this case.
That was one big building. I cleared it in under 30 seconds. You what now? I cleared that building in under 30 seconds. You guys would have been proud. I'm sorry, but you guys would have been proud.
He's one of these individuals that's proud and boastful of what he did. So I think for 13 years he's been wanting to tell somebody. And whenever he was placed under arrest, I think it was a big sigh of relief for him that he could get it off his chest. He wants an audience.
On top of that confession, investigators found 3 bodies on Kohlhepp's property, including that of Kayla's boyfriend, Charlie David Carver, and the bodies of Megan and Johnny Coxey, who'd gone missing in 2015. The discoveries brought Kohlhepp's total homicide victim count to 7.
I have no doubt if we had not found Kayla, that before too long she would have been his 8th victim.
Up there at the spot where you took Charlie, there were 2 holes dug. What was your intent with the second hole?
Hadn't decided yet.
Was that possibly for Kayla?
Yes, sir. She came real close.
Really?
She has no idea. More than once.
He liked to brag that he was a serial killer and a mass murderer. He said he was going to kill more people because he had dreams of his body count being in 3 digits.
It's okay to cry. You've been through hell.
Yeah, but you get to live through it. The rest of it.
But you get to live.
How's that fair?
Those who knew Kohlhepp and worked with him were stunned.
Very good, gifted actor. I can tell you that right now. He had a lot of people fooled.
The first thing I did was rip the sign out my yard. It's terrifying. And to know that this man's had a key to my home since March, you really never know who the monster is standing next to you.
Kohlhepp has bragged to investigators that his victim count is higher than 7, though his claim has yet to be corroborated.
It's just talk at this point. And, if he's not going to give me any specifics where I can run it down, I don't have no other choice but to take it as talk.
Kohlhepp took a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. He received 7 consecutive life sentences plus 60 years without the possibility of parole and can't file any appeals. In July 2018, Kayla Brown faced her kidnapper in court, suing him for damages. The judge awarded her $6.3 million.
She's strong again, and she put on her strong face and walked up.
right past him like, you didn't destroy me.
Mostly, I just want to say thank you to everyone for all the prayers and all the work you put into looking for me. If it wasn't for everyone out there, I don't think I would be here today.
This unbelievable story was covered extensively by South Carolina news station WYFF. Mike McCormick, who did the bulk of the reporting on this case, passed away in 2018. Instead, we'll be talking to veteran WYFF news anchor Michael Cogdill, who was at the TV station when the Superbike murders happened back in 2003.
It's the kind of thing no one will ever make sense of. And these family members have had to come into court and they've had to be in the presence of this man. And you can tell how damaging that particular act alone really is to them.
Has the resolution and the fact that he's been put away for 7 consecutive life sentences plus 60 years given those families any closure?
Not that I have noticed. Yes, there is a satisfaction that he is not a free man. He can't do this again. But there is no satisfaction with regard to loss of family, loss of loved ones.
And what about Kohlhepp's family? Have any of his relatives come forward and spoken about this?
There's been very little talk about that. It's interesting. There's been so much focus on the other families, but he was having an affair with a woman, and she revealed that she had actually paid for the storage unit that Kayla Brown was found in. That she put the shelving inside the container and stocked it with canned food and cases of water. Said she was never suspicious that it would be used for anything other than storage.
Do you know how Kayla is doing at all?
She has said that she will suffer the wounds of this the rest of her life, that she will never fully recover. Being held 2 months in a storage container, the unspeakable acts that were committed against her, and we probably don't know the half of it.
And what can you tell me about the Superbike murders and that whole case?
He went in, he bought a motorcycle. He apparently was not very gifted at riding it, and when he was asked, he said, "They were rude to me." He went, he got a gun, he walked into the shop, he went into the back, he shot one man in the back of the shop. The other 3 were huddled elsewhere in the shop. He killed all of them. He claims he went back through and shot everybody in the forehead again before he left. He seems glad to let the whole world know, yeah, I killed these people. He almost seems not just emboldened, but empowered by it. And he's sitting there, bereft of his freedom, but somehow he seems proudly free to tell us all about it. I've yet to see a nanosecond's worth of remorse in the man.
What is the takeaway message in all of this?
The primary one is to viewers, look at Todd Kohlhepp. The acts of evil he committed are without dispute, and yet he looks like so many of the rest of us. And the bottom line is, folks, he's out there. Kohlhepp is gone, but my fear is there's another one out there, and another one, and another one, and another one after that.
What do you think about this wild story and its resolution? Have there been any unnerving or hard-to-believe revelations in your community? I'm Alexandra Stone, and this has been your Weekly Dispatch. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like this video for more dispatches from the middle.